favorite girls on the planet, Margret Rojas, Style the Girl. We've got Adam Andrus here on sound. Is everything good, Adam? All right.
He's like, yes.
We are so excited. It's the holiday season.
I know, already.
Can't believe it. And you and your family are so beloved by so many on social media. We've known each other for what, 5 or 6 years?
At least 5 to 6 years. Yes.
And you have blossomed, and you've had a baby, a couple babies on Instagram. And you share your adventures with your family, and you are as lovely in person as you appear to be online. And I think that that's so what living the authentic life is. And you share so much of your story, but the most exciting recent adventure was you guys just came back from Disney.
We did, yes. I officially celebrated my 35th birthday 3 days ago. So it was exciting. I told my husband, I actually went for my 5th birthday. My parents took me. And I said, you know what? Why don't we celebrate my 35th with my own family this time around? And we had the most amazing time. Literally from sunup to sundown, we were at Disney the whole time. And the kids loved it, and we loved it. And our legs came back really tired. So it was awesome.
Did you do your counting of your steps? Did you get like 15,000 steps or something?
Oh, we probably went like 25.
Oh my God, that's crazy.
Yes, well, and that was on like a kind of a slow day. When we were at Magic Kingdom, we were there from 8:30 a.m. to 8:30 p.m. So we went 12 hours, and we were just going. Well, I mean, the kids probably did 100 steps. Well, Diego and I, they're just enjoying the stroller while we're pushing, a good 70 pounds.
But it's a workout, and you share all of that, and kind of because I remember when we took Bella to Disney, there's quite a journey and like organizing it and figuring out where to stay and where to go, and it might have helped too the timing of the year. But you were saying that you post all of that on your blog so you can give tips to people of like how to book your dinners. And did you see Disney Princesses? Kind of tell us a little bit about that journey.
So now it's actually really nice. So I think with COVID, things changed a lot. Sophia and I actually went on a girls' trip in May. We skipped the last day of school, and we just did a trip, me and her, to Disney. And in May, it was very different. Like, there was maybe a couple parades. You couldn't see anybody. There was no meet and greets. Now it's different. You can actually meet the characters at a distance. So there would be either some kind of railing, or they would be in the house somewhere. You could at least see them and enjoy them and hear them speak, which is very much what you experience at Disney, especially as a child, because you want to feel that love from the characters that you watch on television. But I post everything on social media. I have a little highlight from every day that we were there, and I put tips inside there while I'm there, so it's easy and on the go. And when I get back home, hello.
Yeah, great. Shelley's coming to see us.
Hi, sweet girl. I always come home and I do a blog post. So that way I can have it in a very formal format. So it's easy. And if anybody asks questions, I can just say, here's the link to my blog post. Oh, I know. You taste my amazing lotion, don't you? Or my puppies.
Back. Exactly. So you share so much of your life, and being... I think of it as more of my business is there, but I find that when I share personal, people get more engaged. But then sometimes there's kind of a downside to that. I feel like there's so much opinions out there, and you and I have talked about that.
We just talked about that recently, yes.
Yes, so kind of share some of that journey with us.
Well, I think on social media, in the beginning, you didn't feel nervous to kind of say what you wanted. I feel like over the last maybe 3 years, people have been, it can be an aggressive state sometimes where, especially in the last 2 years, there's a lot of differences of opinions, just life in general. And so if you say one thing in a different thought of someone else, people will attack you on social media. And it could be something very basic. Someone can tell me that they don't like the way that I part my hair in the middle versus, parting it to the side, or how I dress my children, to me being in my 30s and liking to wear a crop top, with a pair of jeans. People just have this assumption that because you're on social media that they can say whatever they want to you. That it's like, you put yourself on this platform, so you're telling the world that it's okay. But it's not okay. You know, same thing with celebrities. They might love to sing and they're excited to share their talent with the world, but doesn't mean it gives you the personal right to tell them how to live their life just because that's not how you would do it. So it can be a struggle, and even to this day, it can be hard for me when I get a negative message or a DM, because I'm the type of person that I kind of let it fester. I'm like, why would someone think that of me? You know, like, because they truly don't know me. If you know me, you knew that that's not my heart or whatever it is. But you kind of have to grow a thicker skin. You have to learn that hurt people. And
yeah, I love that quote.
yeah, like sometimes they just, maybe they're having a bad day and they're like releasing it out on you, or they have their own, you know, issues in their life, and you got to like try and learn to get it, just brush it off, you know, and be like, have a great day. You know, I'm sorry that I'm not your cup of tea, but you don't have to follow me. You don't have to engage. You know, it is what it is. And some people will tell you that they're leaving you because of XYZ. I'm like, it's not an airport. You don't have to tell me your departure. Just leave.
Oh, I love that. That is so good. But
Yes.
there aren't a lot of people departing. Tell us how many followers you have.
I think I'm at 143 right now, 143,000. So
it's amazing. And do you, I know you love it. I know that you shine when you're on it. But as somebody who's living this life at a different level, we have 33,000 and we're excited here.
No,
but some days you're just not up for it, or some days you just don't even know how to pull it together and do it. But I feel like also people are resonating. I hear from someone recently said, what I love about you is you'll be on there without any makeup on in your workout clothes, showing me how to tie an Irma scarf.
Yeah.
So do you notice what people connect with more than others?
1,000%. So I feel a couple years ago, maybe 5 years ago, it was all about you had to be dressed up all the time. You had to be, your hair had to be done, your makeup had to be done, you had to have your nails done, the really cute new outfit all the time. And I feel like once in the last 2 to 3 years, things started changing. People were living their authentic life. People were bloggers, anybody was showing them waking up in the morning actually looking like how we all look in the morning, which is maybe not, you know,
perfect.
some bags under the eyes, you know, like your hair is in a mess from sleeping. And I enjoy that because that is how all of us look like in the morning. We don't wake up and we're like, this is me. Hello. You know, like it's not real life. And slowly people were starting to share that. And I think people felt more comfortable doing it. And I like to share what I like to see. I'm like, I'm going to show you my true life. When my kids are angry at me for, you know, not cutting the sandwich the right way, I will show that. The kids at Disney, my son was having little tantrums, and people ask me, does he have tantrums? I'm like, absolutely. Here's a video of him screaming his head off because I wouldn't hold him for like the 100th time in a day because my arm just can't handle it. And it resonates because it's relatable. People love being able to, because I won't lie to you, there are some bloggers that I love them as people, but on social, I mean, it just doesn't seem very realistic to me.
Right.
I'm like, you have 4 kids and they're perfect all the time and they take these beautiful pictures and you're always looking stunning. I'm like, you don't have a bad day? Like, you never talk about a bad day or this and that. Like, I like to feel like I'm not, am I losing in this situation? Am I maybe not as good of a mom because I don't have my stuff together? And that's not it. Everybody, we're all a hot mess in certain ways, you know what I mean? And life brings you a balance from being a business owner to being a mother to being a wife to, you know, growing your aspirations. There's so much stuff, especially as a mom, we just put on our shoulders as a woman. And I like that now we're getting better into the age of life where we can feel okay, not always being in tip-top, you know, shape, I guess you could say.
Are perfect all the time.
Yes.
We're imperfectly real.
Yes.
So when you started out as an influencer, was this your side gig? Like, tell us how that evolved.
So when I first started Style the Girl, I was working at Charming Charlie. So I worked there for
I don't know if I even knew that.
Yes, I worked there for 4 years in their store operations department. So when I went to school, I went to U of H, and I did a consumer science and merchandising degree. So I knew I wanted to be in fashion. My end game was to either move to New York or LA, and kind of like LC from Laguna Beach. She, you know, moved to LA. She worked for magazines. That was kind of like my goal set. then I met my husband. And he's an engineer, so engineers,
Changes a little bit.
Yes. So I knew, I was like, okay, well, I'm definitely not going anywhere, because I knew he was the one I wanted to be with. And I was like, I needed to find other options here in Houston. And so we had a couple of options. You know, you had Charming Charlie, Academy, Francesca's, not too many, but you had options to work in retail, but still have that ability to gain education in that field. And I luckily, Charming Charlie had just started. It was only maybe like 2 years old, I feel, at that point. And one of my really good friends that I've known since I was little, she was in human resources. And I said,
wow.
I was like, she's like, I think I have a position for you, because she knows how much I wanted to work in. I was working at Buckle at the time in the Galleria. And I just was over retail. I had done retail since I was 14 or 15 years old. I was done with being in store. I wanted to kind of be on the back of house to kind of see how that worked too. And luckily, I met with the VP at Charming Charlie for store operations, and he hired me pretty much on the spot. And so my role when I first started was to kind of do a little bit of everything. He's like, I'm going to have you work in store operations, but help every single field. So new store openings, visual merchandising, communications, everything. And figure out in 6 months, tell me what you like the most, and let's put you in that spot.
Wow.
Yes,
what an
it was
amazing opportunity.
It was the best opportunity and chance for my life. And it built the trajectory of where I was going and where I am today. Because I guarantee you, if it was any other business that was already kind of had their feet in the ground and the sand and already, I wouldn't have
They
had
would
the
have hired
opportunity.
you for a role.
A role very specific, and not even give me the chance to kind of like show what I can do. So I did that for 6 months and did a little bit of everything. And I mean, I helped make the very first visual manual for the entire company. I opened up stores. We would have managers and district managers and regional managers come, and I would help train them and do all these things. It was phenomenal.
Wow.
And a little bit of everything. And within a year, I was a communication coordinator. So I was in charge of, if stores had an issue, they would go through our website. I think it was called Optimus or something like that, but I was in charge of it all. So if everybody at corporate was not doing what they were supposed to do to help the stores, like I would be in charge, kind of, you have to answer these messages. I see all these open tickets. You need to take care of them. So I was literally the middle person from the stores to the corporate office. And I think I did that for like a year and a half. And then we got a new vice president. And usually when people kind of come on board,
They
it
want
changes.
their people.
Yeah, it changes the trajectory and of how things went. So at that time, we had 2 people in that role, and they told me that my role was going to be cut. And they're like, we have another option for you, but it's not going to be what you really want. And so I had no other option, so I kind of stayed on, and I helped old stores for about 6 months, kind of. They were like the bad stores. The stores that had, if you remember Charming Charlie, it can be very busy. It's all color coordinated, but it can be a hot mess if you don't take care of it, because there's so much product put out to you at all times. And so we would go into stores and we would work 9 p.m. to 6 a.m. every single day.
God,
a different
painful.
store every night in a different area. So we would do Austin, we would do 4 or 5 stores, night shifts, and pretty much within 9 hours they wanted you to completely change the entire store and make it look like it was brand new. It was probably the worst work experience I've ever had in my life.
Because it was
was
almost
just-
setting you up for failure, because there was no way to achieve.
Yes, and you try your
success,
best.
yeah.
And the thing is too, like, they do these to the stores to help them, but it's going to go straight back to how it was, because
If they
it's
don't
all
change
about
the process.
who's working there to actually keep it
The
going. If you
employees.
don't have the employees, that they're going to be like, oh, well, they fixed it for us, and then within like probably a month, it'll be back to exactly where we were to begin with. So I did that for a few months and literally just traveled the whole entire country just doing this. And
But can I stop you for a second?
Absolutely.
That's so true of life, is you can go in and you can fix the way it looks.
Yeah.
But if you don't go in and fix the process and the way that everyone is connecting together,
Yes.
it doesn't work.
It doesn't. And at that time, too, we were growing so much. Like, Charming
Yeah.
Charlie was in all the magazines being the fastest growing company in the nation. But even me at that point in time, just, it didn't make sense because it was like you keep
like,
growing, but you need to slow down because then how are you going to take care of the rest of the stores and the people, and how are you going to support them? But within that, they saw how I was there every day. I was there and I was helping and I showed up. And so the people that didn't do that, they were let go. And luckily at that time, they decided to bring on new roles. So we had 5 regional managers. And they decided to make me the very first role as the first regional lead assistant. So I took over the whole Northeast. So I was under, her name was Dana. And she was still probably one of my favorite bosses of all time. We did all of New York, New Jersey, Massachusetts, like that whole area was her baby. And so even though I was in Texas, I helped her do all of her job there. And I also helped to hire on 4 other regional assistants to go for the Northeast, Florida. There's 5 of us in total, but I was in charge of all of them to make sure that they needed anything, helped onboard them, teach them about the company, bring them to the corporate office and show them and let them meet everybody. These are all your teammates. These are who can help you be, cause it's hard when you're by yourself in an office, in a different...
you feel like an island.
You feel like an island. And so we did that. I did that for maybe a year plus, and I kind of started to get burnt out. It was a lot.
And thank God you didn't have kids then.
We did not. Diego and I, literally, we had just gotten married that summer in June, and then that following February was when I was like, I need to start looking for, or that right after Christmas, I was like, I need to start looking for something else, because it was a lot of pressure, a lot of work. Also not a lot of money, you're constantly working, and in retail, like even though I work 8 to 5, my stores wake up earlier because they're an hour earlier, but then I still have to help the the West Coast because they're 2 hours behind. So if somebody has an issue, I have to help. So that was hard. And so I told my husband, I told Diego, I was like, I think I need to look for something more. And that January, and within Charming Charlie is how kind of style the girl started, is Charming Charlie was amazing because you could wear whatever you want. Everybody was so stylish. You could dress up, dress down. It gave you the freedom versus like business casual.
Right.
Like it felt like something you saw on TV where, you can wear, I could wear this to work technically if I really wanted to. Maybe a little bit longer shorts, and it was my start of styling, and this and that kind of started even building more. And I always loved fashion. I always did. And in January, I told my husband, I was like, you know what? I think I want to start a blog. And he's like, a blog? Like, because at that time, I've been blogging. It'll be 8 years in January. So literally next month.
That was right before it exploded, or was that during the explosion?
So Instagram, it was like, I think within that year of me starting was when it really started to boom. So like 7 years ago. So yeah, I remember January 31st, 2000, and what was that? When did I get married? 2015 was the year that I started blogging. So 8 years in January. And he's like, are you sure? And I even had some girlfriends. One in specific, Leah, she's like, I think you need to start a blog. She's like, you love fashion. This was at that time too on Instagram. You take your photos like this. So you never show your face. It would just be the outfit. Remember back in the day? Funny. And so you would never show your face. So that was very much the thing.
Yeah.
And she's like, she goes, I want to see more of your outfits. She's like, get a blog so you can show more looks. So versus just seeing this, you can do some side shots, show some shoes. Because back then you couldn't. There was no carousel. There was no nothing. It was like the one photo in, Valencia. Remember the Valencia was a big one. It was very yellow.
Yes, the shade that you put on it. Everything was Valencia. Presets. Now I'm like,
Yes. Remember that the song Selfie? Let's take a selfie. Are we going to do it in Valencia or blah, 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 blah? There was like another one. And I was like.
So funny.
I was like, you know what? Maybe I should. And so I looked on WordPress. I kind of Googled some things. I'm like, what are some really good sites to use? And I went on some of my favorite bloggers' websites to figure out what they used. And I got WordPress. It was completely free. And so I started the blog. And my very first blog post was a trip that Diego and I surprised him, a trip to LA and like Malibu for his birthday. And so that was my first little blog post, I guess you could say. And then it was just kind of like mirror shots, in the beginning. And then it started going. And I think in March, I finally got another job working at a hedge fund. And it was perfect because the work-life balance was so much better.
Right.
And it allowed me to still have my love for fashion and all this, because it's my free time, you know? And have my work, and also they paid much better than Charlie and Charlie, let's just be honest. So it was perfect because Diego and I just got married, and we had planned on starting a family very soon. And literally we went to Europe that summer, got pregnant with Sophia. And so it was kind of a great transition for me to do what I love, start a family. And then once we had Sophia, I didn't work anymore. I stayed at home. And I really got to put more of my focus onto the blog and into Style the Girl and everything like that. So it kind of just escalated from that point. So,
and it's so comprehensive. I think people, we've talked about this too, just, blogger girls, they're so narrow-minded. They're so frivolous.
Yeah.
And
they just like to take photos. That's all you do
Yeah.
is just take photos. I mean, how hard can that be?
And it's just so much more complicated. And the fact that you're writing, and I've done it a little bit when we take trips, but to sit down and write everything about it, then go back and link to all of it.
Yes.
And then there's so many avenues. We were talking about Pinterest.
Yeah.
That's a big part. And it's all so interactive. But I think that when someone trusts you and trusts your journey, then they're more likely to allow you to influence them or to trust what you're doing.
Agreed.
And that you do it so consistently, and that's something that I've been telling Bella, and that's what you said earlier. Like, you showed up.
Yeah.
Sometimes success is just doing it when you don't want to do it, when you don't want to post, when you don't want a picture.
Yes.
And just knowing that you can come, that you're going to come through and you're going to always be there.
Exactly. And I think sometimes with life, sometimes we just need to show up, as hard as it can be. I mean, take your mental health days. You know what I mean? When it really gets hard, take your break. You know, I actually posted something yesterday. It was like a meme about like sick days. You know, how back when we were little, it was like, oh my God, you got perfect attendance. You know, it almost feels like you can't take a day off because we're so ingrained in just like always being there. You know, take the days when you need it. But if you can show up, because that's where you really see the progress, especially in life, or what you want to do. And the great thing about, I will say that this job is a blessing because it allows me to do what I love, but also stay home, be a mom. So I'm a full-time working mom, but I have my ability to adjust my schedule based off of my family's needs. So that's a bonus. And even if I don't want to show up, I kind of have to for the kids, you know? For the family, to help grow our family, to help grow my business, to keep us going, to have the life that we want. And but when I do have a rough day, I'll even tell Instagram, I'm like, you know what, I'm not really feeling it today, or I just took the morning off, you know, or I need a break. And people now especially understand it. They're not going to be like, if you don't tell them anything, I realize they will ask. They're like, I noticed you were gone yesterday.
Kind of
Are you
MIA?
okay?
Yeah,
Are you okay?
yeah.
Which is nice, because they're like, I noticed she wasn't on. Is she okay? And so if I tell them, I'm like, you know what, I'm going to take this day off, or I'm just going to be with my family. Everybody's so understanding. Like, you know what, I'm going to probably do the same. I get messages all the time like, that's a great idea. You know, tonight I'm going to completely turn off my phone, shut it off, or delete Instagram so I don't see any ding, 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 turn off my notifications and just be in the moment. So, yeah.
And Diego is super cool. He is oftentimes in your videos, but as a person whose husband is oftentimes in my videos, there are vacations and moments when the family's like, I don't want to take a picture. I don't want to do this.
Yes.
And then people have started liking Rob rolling his eyes because more men can relate to that.
100%.
But Diego seems happy all the time.
He is. We do have our moments. My husband is Diego's an engineer, so he's very black and white.
Yes.
And we talked about this. I'm a freaking rainbow. Like, I'm the polar opposite, you know, like, yeah. And we've had, you know, usually he's very good. He loves what I do, and he's so proud of what I've accomplished and what I've been building. But sometimes we do get into, you know, bickering moments because he's like, you can't sometimes, I think we talked about this, sometimes it's
Yeah.
hard to turn it off because I
If
love
it's
to
part
share
of
my
your
life.
whole life, it's hard to know when not to share.
Exactly. And I know personally, like we actually had this conversation maybe 2 weeks ago because we got into a little argument because I had all this stuff right after Thanksgiving that weekend. I had so much work I needed to do. And I was like, I need your help this day because it's just a lot. And it involved the kids. And with the kids, it can be really difficult. And
Right, because they don't want to do what you want them to do right exactly at that moment.
No. And I've lately too, I've been not including the kids in a lot of stuff because it's not what they signed up for. You know, they didn't ask to be taking photos, or even if they get something cool, like they just want to enjoy the toy and not actually take like, oh, can you sit down and take a picture real quick so I can show, you know what I mean? Like, and I get that. And so we've had the conversation where I'm very selective. If I do, I'm going to post the kids if it's something like a paid partnership once a month max, so that way they don't feel like, I don't want them to feel pressured to do something that they didn't sign up for. And same thing with Diego. He's like, we need to find a balance because, and with him too, he works, like he'll leave the house at 5. He goes to work from 5:30 so he can be home by 3. So usually when he gets home, I'm like, okay, well, he's home now. He can kind of help, let me work. But sometimes he thinks that when he gets off of work that I should be off. And I'm like, it doesn't work like that. Like, I don't get, 8 hours of full work time to get my stuff done. I get maybe 3 to 4 hours depending on what I do in the day. So if I'm writing emails, if I'm creating content, if I'm making videos, I literally did 2 videos yesterday and that took 2 hours of my time because it's like 1 hour for the first one, 1 hour for the second one, because you're having to, make your house look nice or, figure out where you're going to do it, do my hair, do my makeup to get ready to shoot things. And that's not even including editing the content and figuring, how I want to. It can be a lot. And so versus 40 hours of full time a week that he can get, I get maybe 20. So I usually stay up pretty late. I'll stay up until midnight sometimes, just responding to messages, DMs, editing videos on my headphones while he's sleeping next to me. But there's always got to be a balance. And I try, and if I know it's going to be busy, I just make it very clear. I'm like, it's going to be busy and I need your help, And currently right now I don't have an assistant anymore, but I have an amazing management company, Lola and Ivy, I started with them in July and they truly have taken my business to the next level. I've been able to get more partnerships with brands that I absolutely love, and because they have an amazing roster of phenomenal women that I admire and I aspire to be too. And that has helped my business also alleviate any extra work that I need to do.
Because finding the
help is hard.
Yeah, finding the collaboration, setting it up, asking for the money. I think that's the hardest part for me in our business.
Sure.
And as women, I think we struggle with that is I can get the people in and I can say what I like, but for me to do the financial part of it is really awkward.
It is.
Especially when you're
fighting
close
for
to
you.
someone.
Yes.
And you need it for the business, you need it for your employees, you need it for yourself. But at the same time, you want to, and for us, it's not a corporate situation. So we can decide what the margin is. And so it's, and our margins are low. I think that's what a lot of people are surprised about too, is like on handbags, we make 20%, and on watches, sometimes we just make $500 on a $10,000 watch.
Yeah.
And then the other thing is explaining to your friend what your value is and your reach.
That's the hard part too, because
it's not a tangible.
It's not tangible. And right now with blogging, it's all over the place. There's no set price. Like if you were to go to a corporate job, you're like, exactly kind of the tier trajectory of everybody, because you can Google it on LinkedIn or whatever. Like if you're a VP, you make 100 plus 150 depending on what business you're working in. Blogging, you can make, literally anything you can think of. You know what I mean? I have friends that are like in the 300K range and they're making like 500 grand plus, minimum, and now like their husbands are working for them and their husbands aren't working because they're just, the wife is now bringing in the money. So it's like, why does he have to work? And he can kind of just help. Or I have friends that are like multi-millionaires. You know what I mean? It's just, the sky is the limit. It really is. And that's the great thing about it, because you can really dictate what your value is. But it's also hard, because I'm glad I have Lola and Ivy, because that has always been my hardest like push. Like, I think I deserve more. And Diego's he's businessy, so he deals with contracts, and he's black and white. He's like, no,
that's why Rob and Eugene do all the buying.
Yeah,
exactly. And we're like, what's the price for this?
Exactly.
Because they're very clear about it, and they don't feel bad.
It doesn't faze him at all. So I usually would have him look at the contracts. I'm like, something doesn't, like, what do you think? He's like, you need to ask. He's like, always ask for more, was what he always told me. So I've always done that, but I'm always like, am I pushing it? Like, am I overstepping? But he's like, no, you ask. He's like, if you don't ask, you don't get. And if they say they can't afford it, they'll usually be like, well, we can't do this amount, but we can do this. You know, or like if they tell you no completely, I'm like, well, where is your budget? Can you tell me your budget? And I'll tell you what I can offer you. So that way the biggest thing was always asking them what it is versus what they can offer. So even if they lowball you, you're like, you know what, I usually charge about X amount. Do you think we can get there? Or I'm going to you have to lower your expectations or requirements for what you're asking for.
It's so true. And I go back to connection, and collaboration really comes when you have a mutual trust and you both feel that you're getting a good thing. So it could be a working relationship, it could be dating, it could be friendship, but that you're both, that you feel like you're getting equal back for what you're giving someone. And it's hard to always be able to have those conversations, or even to know what it is.
Exactly. And with relationships, I feel personally, I always feel it's important to give like 100. It's always hard with businesses, because it's like you truly, unless I've worked with them a couple times, it's easier. It's always that first communication, that first email, you know, where
before you know each other, that makes it so hard, because they don't know that you're going to show up in such a significant way for them.
Exactly. But the thing is, what's always great is that they reach out to you because they saw something in you. You know what I mean? So I always say that you just ask for what you think you deserve, because they reached out to you first. It wasn't the other way around. You know? So if they can't provide you with there's got to be a bargaining tool, and if not, maybe at some point be like, you know what, okay, well, right now it's not the right fit, but if your budget is higher, or if you can eliminate some of these requests that you're asking, let's work together. I would love to. So that way you're never burning a bridge in any sort of aspect. So,
and there's also with the kids, we touched on this and we talked about it last week. It's so hard. I know for Bella, she works with us doing her eBay. She gets, and then we work with her where she could trade in and out, which is our business. We do it with our clients too. But they're so exposed to so much. Yeah. And your kids are getting these things that they're able to use.
Yes.
And how do you not think and not get so attached to the monetary side of life? Because we are aware of that.
Yeah.
And both of us, I mean, I grew up with nice things, but I couldn't go shopping and buy whatever I wanted. Yeah. Like, I had my first Chanel bag at 37.
Yeah.
You know, and it was effort, and it was a plan, and it was a goal.
Yes.
So let's talk about that balance.
So we definitely did talk about that last week, and I've talked about this with Diego too, because he sees the boxes, and his big thing is like, there's another box coming in. I'm like, well, this is my business, but it sucks because it is our home too. I don't have a separate place just to, you know, and so my office is my office. But so one thing that we've started to do is that if we, especially with the kids, if they get something for a partnership or even just a giftable item, we say you keep one thing and then we donate the rest to children in need, whether it's to, you know, or we gift it or give it to friends. Because there has been a time, and we notice that too with our oldest daughter, she's 5.5, but it almost doesn't faze her when something new comes, because something new will come, at least if not weekly or bi-weekly, from brands or even myself. Like I love to shop. That it is right. You know, it is what it is. So if I see a cute shirt, I end up buying it. Whether or not it's $5, it's like my husband just sees like it's another thing that they really don't need. She has lots of perfectly good shirts, you know. And growing up, we didn't have a lot. We really didn't. And we were lucky if my parents were like, you guys have $50 to spend at Target right before school starts to get a couple of things, you know? And that was like, and I think growing up that way, I think that's also where my love for shopping and being able, I'm like, now I can buy the things that I always wanted to. Not that I'm like, you know, a 5-year-old girl wanting to shop and buy Chanel, but, you know, just being able, now I have the ability to, if I want something, I can go get it. I don't have to, you know, struggle to find it, which is a blessing. But I forget that Sophia,
they're missing that
part of the journey where it's like, okay, you want this, now you're going to have to work for it. So we started also doing like a piggy bank. So if she does her bed in the morning, if she helps with her brother, if she, you know, helps fix the couches, feed the dogs, that sort of thing, she gets money for it. So whether it's $1 here, some change here. And so I'm like, when you're ready, you want to buy a Barbie, then let's count the money and you buy what you want. So we've been kind of doing that. The last maybe 2 months to kind of change it, because I feel like once they hit 5, they remember things. They know what's happening. They're very smart and intuitive. And when things do come in now, it's all about balance. And even if we do end up keeping things, we put it in the attic where they don't see it and they don't remember it. And when she is being good, or she gets, you don't get good grades in kindergarten, but like she learns new, you know, how to count to 100 or writes all the alphabet, like, if you get this, or sleeps in her bed all night, you know, you'll get, if you can sleep consistently in your bed for a week, then you will get like a new stuffed animal or something like that. Give them reasons to attain a goal.
And some people call that bribing, but I call those incentives. And
I do incentives,
We did that with the pacifier. I bought 7 of the Disney princess, all of the Disney princess Barbies, and every night, and I showed them all to her, and every night she slept without the pacifier. Then by the end of it, she was off of it.
Yes.
But it took a while, and then we took them, we gave them to Mary at the Mary's statue at the Catholic Church. And so we said Mary's going to give them to the other kids. And so then after that, she wanted to go to church all the time and go see where her pacifiers were. But you know, the people claiming the church were like, what are all these pacifiers doing at the feet of Mary?
Hey, but it helps though. Yeah, it's all about perception, right? Too, like you got to, when they're young, they're so impressionable. So we have to remember that, yes, sometimes we're really blessed in certain things, but we also have to remember that there are so many kids that don't have these things. So if you're blessed, you also need to remember to give blessings as well. And that's really big. And the smaller they are, I feel like the more they'll grow into being that person that will always be giving and helpful. And I mean, that's what we try and do in our house. And even when we walk, we try and clean the environment. We always have a bucket. I'm sure you've seen it, a bucket. And we have those little pickup things, and we clean up trash every single day. We go in the neighborhood just to, so it's like those little things, like helping the environment, you know, noticing that you don't need to have things all the time, and if you do, then help giving it away, because you know, so now's a good time to just, we're teaching her, and I'm learning too to be like, okay, today we don't need that shirt, I'm just gonna keep going, you know, I'll leave it in my cart or online or something like that. But
and then you do those big sales.
Yes, the blogger sales.
Yes, with girls, and I think that's a great idea, because you don't need to keep everything.
No.
And I'm very much one that's high-low, so I mix luxury pieces with other things, and I love that you show that. So let's talk a little bit about fashion. I love this oversized blazer.
Thank you.
With these vegan leather shorts.
Yes.
Super sassy. So what are the trends you're loving for fall, and what are you...
Faux leather. Faux leather is huge in any way. A jacket, shorts. There are these amazing Abercrombie pants that I'm waiting for it to go back, but they're like faux leather straight leg pants that are stunning. When I had my birthday dinner last week, the whole bunch of blogger girls, literally probably 7 out of 10 of us were all in like faux leather something, whether it was a dress, a skirt. That I think is going to be the huge thing for just the trends this winter. But all of it too, like when it comes to my high-low, I try and keep like my accessories or my bags or my high pieces, and then clothing is from everywhere. This blazer is actually from Target, but it looks...
Oh, you do such a good job with Target. I love it when you like bring a whole bag in and you Just
do the
put
whole
together,
try on.
yes.
Yes, and people, and that's also, you can have, it's affordable fashion, but it's like also better quality, you know,
Yes.
versus like a Forever 21. Forever 21 has amazing stuff, and the price point is awesome, but I feel like you can also look very high without the price point. That's always been my thing. Tank is Nordstrom, and these are actually from Amazon for like
No
$25, these shorts, and
Wow.
then Steve Madden shoes. But I love to like mix and match and do all that stuff, because you can put a whole outfit together and look very expensive, but it can maybe be less than $100 for a really cute outfit that you can put together in multiple
And then
ways.
you put on your vintage Chanel bag from the Vintage Contessa.
Yes,
and your
exactly.
Chanel earrings.
Yeah.
So that was actually my style story.
Yeah.
We invested, my dad, we had our own business. We had to put a lot of
Yeah, the
money into our
marble.
business, the marble and granite. And just like us, we have inventory, but I can use a handbag where I couldn't use a slab of marble to go enjoy it.
Exactly.
But we would shop. My mom and I were at the discount stores carrying our Gucci bags he would gift us.
Yes.
And that was the story, and so much with the way that I
amazing. Yeah.
grew in my style, and what helped me really understand the value of buying pre-owned. I think that's a part of it too, is the environment. So for holiday gifts, do you have some tips for people of things that are hot for kids or
Yes.
for the men in your life and for you?
So I have actually a whole bunch of gift guides on my Instagram. And I also, if you follow me on Like to Know It, there's a Like to Know It app, and all the gift guides are there. I have everything from mother and father-in-laws to children from multiple age ranges, to teens, to your husbands, to the athletic guy, to the businessy guy, anything that you can name for the kids. So I usually kind of base it off of my own children. So Sophia, she loves to craft. Like, crafting is her thing. Writing notes to people, making friends bracelets, like every single day. Yesterday we got envelopes. Sometimes people send envelopes in the mail with like people. It's like kids from like St. Jude's. Kids will draw, and so they send these envelopes. So Sophia wrote every single one of her classmates like a little letter, and so anything that we can craft, she absolutely loves. My son loves sports, so balls, footballs, baseballs, so anything kind of sports related. So at his age, I usually gift like little basketball things and stuff like that. And for the women in your life, I love cozy things.
Yes.
So like a plush robe, some slippers, bath bombs, things that I will actually use, or gift cards to places that I love. A lot of my girlfriends did my favorite nail salons, my massage place, because self-care is also a big thing for me. So anything where we can just sit back and relax and enjoy is something that I will always share.
I love that.
Yeah.
And I encourage people that if they're watching this after it being live, that you're giving trip advice, no matter what the season is. You're giving people kind of the basics and outlining things.
Yeah.
And I think it's great. We said this too, even though we are fashionistas and we love it, I go to Pinterest, I go to your feed, I can be inspired by looking at others. And we all are kind of in this together, and I think it's great. And it's such a good community. I feel really blessed that I haven't always felt welcome, and I think people are surprised by that. But not every community you go into do you feel welcomed or a part of.
Yeah.
And this Houston influencer community is pretty exceptional and amazing.
I will completely agree with you on that. With this community, we're so strong too. A lot of us that are still doing it have been doing it together for the last 5 to 7 years. And from going to fashion weeks to going to the reward style conferences with bloggers all throughout the country, even just talking to them, they are always so surprised how tight-knit Houston, or even just Texas in general, like Dallas is a really big one, but they'll be like, we're in LA, and LA people are like, you do you, I do me. Like, we don't there isn't
connect.
like, hey, we have group text. We're like, hey, is anybody free I have to shoot some stuff. Do you need to shoot something? Like, we can meet up, we'll go get lunch and we'll shoot some looks. Like, apparently it's not very common in other places, or there's cities that don't have a big blogger community. In Houston, we're the third largest city in the U.S. There's so much stuff happening all the time, and it's amazing. And so to have so many girls that also love fashion, that are willing to, share tips and tricks into blogging, to wanting to invest in helping you grow your business. I feel like no one's really, there used to be a lot of competition back in the day, like when I very first started. There was I feel like there was kind of like two groups of Houston bloggers, if you could say. And some of them could be very not so nice, but thankfully I'm in the nicer group of the girls, so that's, and but you kind of just have to, ultimately your blog is about you, right? And hopefully you're lucky enough to find a group of girls or people that will be behind you and support you always. And that's the most amazing thing about the blogger community here. I have some of my best girlfriends are all bloggers because they relate to my life so much, from work-wise to
a similar walk.
Exactly, to family life, to trying to balance it all, wife, mother, business owner, creative, and sometimes I'll message them and be like, which photo should I use as my post? Does this caption sound right? Do you have any other tips that I should include in here? And I'll just tag you in it, or even reposting things that they do. I'm like, to show my support in them, clicking their links on their ads, because I know how hard it is. Like when people see ads, they're like, they just bypass anything that you work on, but bloggers understand it. They're like, this is how she makes her money. This is how she grows her business. So just those little support systems are always the best. I'm very thankful for them, for sure.
Well, we're thankful for you and our relationship.
Oh my gosh, me too. Like, Danae, I've known you for, I think I met you after I had Sophia. So 5 to 6 years ago, and you have always been literally such a blessing in this community, and you have no idea how much, not only just bloggers, but people in general love you and what you're doing, and you're all about women empowerment and living your authentic life, and we couldn't do this life without you, honestly, and we appreciate you always keeping us in mind for so many amazing events and things that you have going on. So thank you from the bottom of our hearts just for always being so amazing.
That's so
and
sweet.
We love you, and I look forward to.
If everyone looked at life about how they could build each other up, we would all, and so it's not just about having you guys there for an experience and how it's going to help me. If I create experiences that are opportunities for people, then everyone succeeds. And if we all looked at life in that way, there would be so much more success.
I agree. And I feel like, as I think we talked about this last week too, that women in general, sometimes we forget that.
Yes.
We sometimes feel like it's always a competition.
Right.
But if we were to just help each other, like, because we're each our own individual person.
Yeah.
Like, if you put 5 girls, like if we were to style 5 outfits, every single girl would have a different look on how they did it, It's the same thing with business. Like, we're not the same, but we both love sharing similar things, Like, we are each our own individual person. So why, it's not like somebody's trying to take away from me, Let her shine, let her have her moment, because my time will come eventually if that's the case, Like, we just support each other and be there for each other. And if you can't, be excited for somebody, then just be like, good for her, and just move on. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Like, we're all women trying our hardest to do it all, so why can't we support each other and be like, you go girl, you got this.
Amen. It takes a village. Well, thanks guys. Keep on living the authentic life.